Hey Neil, you found something about humanist weddings, is that right?
Yes, there's some evidence coming through from Scotland who have had humanist weddings since I think it's about 2005 that they are 3 times less likely to divorce than any other type of marriage.
Wow.
Yeah, so this comes because there's a campaign in the UK to have humanist weddings recognised in England and Wales, which they're not at the moment, unfortunately. But in Scotland, they've become quite a big thing. There's actually more people doing humanist weddings in Scotland.
It's interesting. There's less controversy up there than down here.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. But it comes down to, from what a humanist celebrant says, is she thinks it's because humanist weddings very much look at the reason behind why you're getting married and why you're choosing to marry and how to create a solid, thought-through foundation for that marriage before you even enter into it. I guess people who like taking evidence-based approaches to things maybe can resolve issues better. I don't know. That would be a guess on my behalf.
That could very well be it, and it'd be interesting to watch this, just to see over the years, over the decades even, how this plays out. And yeah, this might be a trend that continues and makes its way down here to England and hopefully to places like America.
Yeah, and but it's another nail in the coffin of the idea that atheists can't be moral.
Yeah, and they can't possibly have a marriage which works because it's not blessed by God.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good news.
Yeah. And you know what else is good news? Is that Captain Marvel has opened to a historic $153 million in the US. It's a huge hit, but some people are throwing a fit over it, right? And so despite that 153 million in the US and 455 million, I think it is globally, that's according to the Hollywood Reporter, some male fans are having a bit of a meltdown because basically this is Marvel's allegedly most powerful superhero, and it's a woman.
Yes, so why are we talking about this on Talk Beliefs? Well, we just wanted to tackle the fact that men believe they're having a lot taken away from them today, or a certain section of society anyway, where in fact there's nothing being taken away from man. This is just a Marvel character that happens to be female, doing very well at the cinema, and for some reason a lot of guys don't like that, and we'd like just to remind people that you still have your characters. We could list as long as your arm.
Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk. There's so many of them. Yeah. But now for some reason, because, well, spoiler alert, she's going to come to save the day in Avengers Endgame, a lot of guys are reacting like, why does it have to be a woman? Captain Marvel was originally a man anyway. And a lot of it comes down to something that Brie Larson, who is the actress, an Oscar-winning actress who plays Captain Marvel, said in an interview. She said that what she was looking to do was to bring more seats to the table, and nobody is getting their chair taken away. Now, this was about helping to diversify the press who cover her movies, and unfortunately, some internet trolls assumed that she was being anti-white men. They interpreted this as anti-white men.
Well, the way I interpreted it is when I read it, is that she's just saying that it isn't just white men who like Marvel. Why are the press conferences just full of white men? She wants more people of colour, more diversity.
Yes.
And I think that's a fair point, because there's a bigger audience out there that obviously isn't being catered for. I mean, that has absolutely been shown with how successful this is how successful Black Panther was. And
a more diverse press would have a different set of questions and a different way of looking at the film as well, which would represent a certain section of society who also looked at the film in a different way.
Absolutely. And you know what? If this film wasn't your bag because it featured a white female lead character, so what? Go and enjoy something else. Don't try to take other people's fun away from them.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think they're also sort of cropping themselves a little bit, because it's obvious that women main characters and women heroes do make a lot of money for Hollywood. I mean, I'm thinking of Wonder Woman, of course, and films like Hidden Figures. They do extremely well. And some people, they just can't stand that, which is very sad.
It is sad, but it's part of the world we live in right now, and part of things we're trying to tackle here on Talk Beliefs and Reason now. We live in a world where it's been proven that if we all work together, if we have more diversity on panels, interviews, anything you can mention, we make better decisions as a species.
Yeah. And even Clark Gregg, who plays Phil Coulson in the film, he said to Nerdist magazine, there are people who get very bent out of shape about the fact that she's a woman, and that Bree's a woman and wants to see a woman moving into an equal place in humanity to men.
There are. we can see them everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can see them in evangelical societies where some people certainly think that the woman's place is to be in the home and to submit themselves to the man. Well, I can understand why they don't want women having equal rights.
Well, they can be superheroes, but the man's got to save the day. The male superhero's got to save the day.
Yeah, and in Marvel superhero films, now, although there's been some very good characters, very good female characters, they've not had a lot of actual.
No, Black Widow never got her own movie. You know, I mean, why not? You know, it is mostly the guys. So I don't know what they're worried about. They got plenty in their collection to watch.
It's coming because
male-centric.
These films have proved there's an audience for it now. So these guys who don't like it, they better buckle up because there's more coming your way.
Yeah, Spider-Woman and She-Hulk, they're probably on the way. Okay. Now we're going to move on. Now this is a story from the Sydney Morning Herald, which is an Australian paper. Conditioned to lying: how Mormon sexual questioning is child abuse. Right. Brad Harker had been married twice, once in a Mormon temple, and had 4 children. He came from a devout 6th-generation Mormon family and had been a missionary who had baptized 65 people. Yet, he'd been living a lie. He'd known since his early teens that he was gay. He says he was shamed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, commonly known as the Mormons, to remain closeted. And he was subject to the peculiarly Mormon practice of explicit sexual questioning from a very young age. Harker now calls that sexual questioning, which started from the age of 8, child abuse, a view endorsed by the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse. In the Mormon Church, the formal questioning steps up from the age of 12 as bishops, lay religious leaders, conduct worthiness interviews, during which they ask questions of children about whether they masturbate or have impure thoughts. The interviews are part of a process that children must go through before they are allowed to access the temple, an important religious milestone. Now, the reason we're bringing this up is it's something that has gone on for decades in the Mormon Church. I think also in the Jehovah's Witnesses as well. They have something similar. But finally, this is coming to the fore. There's somebody I'm going to be interviewing very soon who deals with campaigning against this. I'll talk about that soon. But is this something you knew about, Neil?
I had no idea.
I only found out recently.
And it does seem completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like something you would do in any other walk of life. You wouldn't go to a youth club and expect a youth club leader to start asking you about your sexual practices. This is... Well, you would report them to the police.
Yeah.
Because you would presume they're getting off on it.
So the parents are allowing a child to be alone in a room with an adult man talking about how they touch themselves or not?
Yes, it's...
What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah.
This isn't a gay story. This is a potential child abuse.
Definitely.
Even if they don't lay a hand on them, it's just there's something wrong about it.
Yeah, it's just... And the reason that child abuse, everyone... Oh, it's not child abuse, they never touched them. You can mentally abuse children. Yeah. For sure. And this is definitely one of the examples of mental abuse of children. Anytime you shaming a child into something, especially for something that's completely unproven, or making children live in fear, that is abuse. That is coercion, and that is abuse. And in the UK, actually, we have laws against this.
Absolutely.
Against adults now, but funnily enough, it probably doesn't count if you do it to your kids.
Exactly. It makes me think of that line from the Miseducation of Cameron Post, which I watched again yesterday, where Chloe Grace Moretz's character is sent to a gay conversion camp in this case. She says at the end, why is it not child abuse if you're being programmed to be disgusted with yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this kind of applies here, I think.
Definitely. It is child abuse because you are putting that child at risk of lifelong mental health issues.
Yeah. Which will spill over into marriage and a healthy sexual relationship where they might not even be able to have a normal, sexual life.
Yeah, and that's not even going into the fact that you are physically putting these children in danger, because we know churches in general, I'm not laying any claims against the Mormon church, but we know churches in general, there's been a lot of child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And
you can't switch on the news without seeing another scandal.
Yeah, and therefore leaving a child in the presence of a man asking a lot of very inappropriate sexual questions, I would be worried.
It happens a lot. It happened in the Waco cult. It certainly happened in the Children of God, which is all about having sex with children in the name of godly love. It crops up way too much. The article goes on to say, there's growing pressure on the Utah headquartered Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints over the appropriateness of worthiness interviews. In Australia, an investigation by the Sunday Age and Sun Herald revealed the questioning was described as an abuse of children, according to leaked correspondence from the Royal Commission. Mormons regard sexual purity as a key tenet of their faith and regard breaches, sex out of marriage, sex between gay couples, even masturbation, as being akin to murder in terms of sinfulness. I was told this once by an ex-Mormon, and I thought, no, he's probably exaggerating there. But no, this is true.
Is it the spilt seed?
I guess.
Thing?
I don't know how they equate it with murder, but they're just desperate to stop these things and keep people pure.
Yeah, but if it is akin to murder, they're talking about spilt seed, so you're talking about millions or billions of dead babies every time.
So maybe that's what they mean. That's what they mean. So much for wet dreams, huh? A spokesman for the Australian church defended the worthiness interviews as important in leading, teaching, and inspiring children. Well, of course they would, because they're not going to back down until they're really, really pressured.
It's weird because churches in general, I don't know about the Mormon church on this one, but they're anti-sex education classes. Yeah. So you could,
essentially,
we could just teach kids about sex education in normal school classes. It would be much more appropriate than bringing them in on a one-on-one and finding out whether they're worthy to be a Mormon.
That would scare them off sex for life, which perhaps is the whole point of it.
Yeah.
While the bishop or whoever is getting off on it.
But we do know what happens is with Mormons, they have an incredibly high divorce rate because of this.
Yeah.
Because kids keep themselves pure because they're absolutely petrified. They marry as early as they possibly can because they desperately want sex. Yeah. And they have a very high divorce rate because of it.
Usually right after the mission that they are expected to go on, so that's about 19. Not really a great age to get married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
scary stuff.
Yeah, as I said, I will be interviewing Sam Young of Protect LDS Children, and that's protectldschildren.org. And you can go over to that website and see what he does. This is very important. There's a petition there which you can sign, and he's always working and campaigning to protect children from these meetings with the bishops, with these one-on-one purity meetings, whatever.
Good on him. I'm looking forward to watching that one.
Yeah. Right, we're going to move on, and this is from the WSFA.com. Man survived tornado by grace of God.
I love these stories.
I know some ex-Christians are going to rolling their eyes right now. They know exactly where this is going. So, okay, Montgomery, Alabama. When the tornado hit Lee County on Sunday, John Polk was in the hospital, but he wasn't supposed to be. Polk had had foot surgery just days prior and was supposed to be released from the hospital on Friday, 2 days before the tornado. But due to complications, doctors made Polk stay longer than expected. The doctor wouldn't let me out. They were wanting to keep me in for 2 more days, Polk said. At the time he was frustrated, but now he's grateful. If I would have been at home, I would have been laying in the bed and not able to move, Polk said. I wouldn't be standing here. All that's left of his house now is his front porch. Some call John's story of survival luck, but he calls it something else. The good Lord was looking over me and he was watching. He was watching me and my wife, Polk said. Polk said that he lost everything in the storm, including some of his close friends and neighbors. This was my parents' place, and they passed away and left it to me. So everything in the house, everything they owned, was still in the house, and I lost everything that they had, and I lost everything that I had, he said. We had a couple of good friends of mine that didn't make it, but God's got them now, and they went home to see him. Polk plans to rebuild his home on the same property soon. Now, again, I'll ask this again. What's wrong with this picture?
Well, if God wanted to save him, he made him suffer by having to stay in hospital longer.
Yeah. Why was he in hospital?
Saved. Why was he in hospital? Because God put him in there, obviously, and God wanted him to suffer to save him. But he didn't seem to think his friends were worthy of saving.
No, this is quite often the case, and I even see it in my own family. Isn't it great that God thought I was good enough to save?
Yeah.
Thank goodness that so-and-so didn't get on that plane when it crashed. You know, forgetting all the people that died horribly in the crash, and that affects their families forever. You know.
So it's so bloody narcissistic, isn't it?
That's the word.
It's oh, I was fit to be saved, but oh, God's got them. That's fine. He wanted them. But shouldn't it be the other way? Shouldn't it be saying, God, why didn't you take me?
Yeah.
Why did you let my neighbours be with you?
Why didn't you stop the, tornado?
Yeah.
Why didn't you stop the tornado?
The whole thing is just bollocks. Look, let's face facts. The guy was in hospital. They had complications because that's what happens sometimes if you're ill and you need some sort of treatment. It's serendipity. Nothing more, nothing less. There is no... If you have to place action behind any of this...
Yeah.
Either God is a shit, or you're a shit, or any way you look at it, no one's looking good in this scenario because you've killed people and made people suffer. It's just serendipity. Tornadoes happen. It's weather.
Sometimes people aren't where they could have been.
Yeah.
And as we've learned from the Final Destination films, death is going to come and get them anyway. But you know what this reminds me of? Do you remember a few years ago, I'm thinking maybe 10 years ago, there was a tornado in America, I think it was in Oklahoma, and CNN's Wolf Blitzer was down there interviewing some of the survivors and speaking to this lady, and she was holding her toddler, and she was absolutely fine, even though she was there. And he said, "Oh, you're blessed. You've got to thank the Lord, right?" And then this lady, it was Rebecca Vitzmun, that's right, she said, "Actually, I'm an atheist."
Yeah.
And that's all she had to say.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, we're happy you're here. You guys did a great job. And I guess you got to thank the Lord, right?
Yeah.
Do you thank the Lord for that split-second decision?
I'm actually an atheist.
Oh, you are? All right. But you made the right call.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
it was good. And I would have gone further and said, what sort of arsehole God would do this?
Yeah, I think she didn't need to say anything else.
True.
I mean, everything that you just said in regards to the last one, I think a lot of people got from what Rebecca said that day. And before we wrap up, there's a story that we're going to be following about the Jehovah's Witnesses and their infamous 2-witness rule, which protects pedophiles. This rule has never changed, and sometimes it looks like it's never going to change, but apparently I've been told that the new Elders book, which has come out in the last few weeks, has had a bit of a change to it. It's not a huge difference, but it's basically saying you can't just let it pass if a child comes forward and says they've been abused by one of the elders in the church, which is what happened before. They needed a second witness, which of course never happens in the cases of child abuse. But now they've made a little bit of a change to that. It's a bit of a win, but it could be a lot better, couldn't it?
Yeah, because it doesn't say report it to the police.
No, it's more like report it to the branch office and then...
Report it to the branch office and then... I'm guessing they're going to cover it up for at the branch office rather than cover it up locally.
Yeah.
That's going to be my call on that one.
It seems that they're bowing to pressure, or hopefully to good sense and good morals, a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll have to see where this goes.
It's only a very small win, but we change this stuff by incremental steps.
Mm-hmm.
So well done to everyone who's been fighting this, all the XJWs.
And thank you very much to Meg Slaymaker, who is an ex-Jehovah's Witness and has her own wonderful YouTube channel. She does a lot of activism. She brought this bit of information to Talk Beliefs, and very grateful for that.
But we will definitely be watching it and reporting on it as and when we hear more.
We will. And we're going to relax here in Britain for the next few days, put our feet up, and watch the fury over Brexit, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's the last few remaining days before everything goes tits up, or everything remains the same.
Yep. So we'll have a beer, watch the circus, and we'll be back next week.
We will.